Hey guys! So someone at my church was really nice and gave me a ring light, so I have a ring light now, so I can use both hands, and I have a mic. Hopefully this audio isn't shitty. I'm sorry if it's shitty. But I want to talk about the words handicapped and disabled and special needs and differently abled and what do we use? Because able-bodied people seem to think certain words are derogatory and disabled people think other words are just derogatory. And so I just wanted to clear that up for you if you have a coworker that's disabled, a family member, other relative, friend, whatever. First and foremost, you should always ask that person which term they prefer. I just use disabled, because there's really no verb or adjective for having cerebral palsy. I did see CPer on Tumblr, which is CP is cerebral palsy. Adjectivified, I guess, CPer. I like that. I thought that was cute. I'm gonna use that. But usually I just say hey, I'm disabled, I use a wheelchair, I'm a part-time wheelchair user, I have other mobility aids. So I'll get into the whole handicapped issue. This is a really old term, and I will link some articles down below that actually gave me a few ideas for this video, because I never liked the word handicapped. It always sat with me wrong. And I guess because I view it as handy with a cap, because disabled people obviously probably couldn't work in ye old days, so they had to beg for money. Now, there have been a few articles saying that this isn't true, that this is not where the word came from, that it was just made up during the Civil War era, after soldiers came home and were handicapped, but, missing limbs or something. Although I'm not entirely sure if that is true or what's true. It doesn't sit well with me. I don't use that term. I don't like that term. Handicap parking, handicap stall, handicap seating. It bothers me. I like the term accessible spaces. I think that's a lot nicer than saying handicapped. I think the other problem with handicapped is we never chose to call ourselves handicapped. Able-bodied people were like, this is the term we're gonna use, accept it. We're just like, okay. Other racial groups maybe being called something that they didn't decide for themselves. I don't think African Americans were like, we're Negroes, call us Negroes. They were like, why are you calling us Negroes? That's weird. I'm sorry if you find that term offensive. It's the only example I could think of. That you weren't given the opportunity to choose that label, and I think that's what's happening with so many terms for the disabled community. I said disabled. Able-bodied people are now starting to see that as offensive. My mom, during a meeting with the Disabilities Resource Services for my college, said that she was upset that there weren't any nicer words than disabled. And I was like, what do you mean disabled isn't a nice word? What's wrong with disabled? And she said that, she felt it was negative, it's focusing on what disabled people can't do versus what they can do. It focuses on the issue, the illness, the condition, the whatever. But I was like, I have no qualms about being called disabled, especially because cerebral palsy is a huge part of my life. It kind of defines who I am in a sense. I use a wheelchair, I use crutches. You can, even if I'm not using mobility aids, you can tell something is wrong with me. So there's no way for me personally to get around that. It's there, it happens, yay. So I just thought that was very strange. It was like, it's saying here's the thing I can't do. I'm disabled because I can't walk. Or walk properly anyway. Some people can't speak, some people can't see, you know, blind, deaf, mute, maybe, you know, autoimmune issues, you know, digestive issues, psychiatric problems. So, you know, it's just like, we're not trying to say that this defines us necessarily, which I think a lot of able people are like, don't let your disability define you, and it's like, it kind of already does. There's nothing I can do about that. There's no cure for many disorders or illnesses like chronic pain, cerebral palsy. There's no cure for autism, and some people don't want a cure for certain disabilities they may have. They don't see it as a problem the way they function. So I think if you let people decide what they want to be called, then, you know, that's a lot better than putting the label handicapped, disabled, special needs. The other problem I had with handicap was there was an article that I'll link down below that was saying handicap came from the term horse racing. If another horse was better than all the other horses, they would be given a handicap, you know, an extra mile, leg braces or something. So that's kind of like, I guess, how it came to be used with disabled people. I'm not entirely sure. Again, I'll link the article down below. It was just, but I'm like, no one thinks of horse racing, golf, any other sport. When you say handicapped, I'm gonna think 90% of the population probably thinks of a person in a wheelchair first and foremost. So that was a little odd. I'm like, no one thinks of this. At least I don't when I hear handicap. I've heard of it in specific context towards sports. Don't get me wrong. I've definitely heard that. But outside of that context, I would think disability first. And I'm sorry this video is kind of all over the place. I'm gonna go back to this term special needs. I don't like that term because I feel special is a little bit derogatory. Like, they're special. Like special. Like, it's like something you whisper to your friends, like, oh, they're special. Like, that's weird. That's like a PC, like, kitty word to get around what you're actually trying to say. Like, yes, I'm crippled. I get it. Crippled I don't like. I can call myself that. I just don't like when other people do, because then it's offensive. But like, I understand that I have a problem. You don't need to, you know, tiptoe around the issue. I also don't like differently abled, in which I explained to my sister, I don't have a different ability from everybody else. I have a non-ability. I'm not different in the way, like, oh, I float to get around. I don't use my legs. I just float in the air. Like, no, that doesn't happen. My legs don't work properly because cerebral palsy affects the nervous system. So my nerves are firing far too often, and I can't contract and retract or something like that. It doesn't work. The way I walk doesn't work good anyway. I get tired really easily. So it's not different. If different, you mean like I have to use a wheelchair to get around sometimes? Maybe. But it's not different, it's a lack thereof. Like, it's a lack of seeing. It's a lack of hearing. It's a lack of walking. Like, it's a dis. It's something I don't have the ability to do. So I just think some of these terms that able-bodied people are coming up with, it's like, the disabled community doesn't care. We don't care. You know, so it's like, you're getting offended for us. Please stop. You know, I'll be perfectly fine. If someone says something rude, I can deal with it. I'll be like, hey, can you not say that? Like, that's not a nice term for people. Like, I've heard spastic, apparently, is a derogatory term used for people in the UK. not entirely sure about that. Someone can tell me in the comments if that's true. I've only heard it in the medical sense because I have spastic cerebral palsy, so that just means my muscles are tighter than they should be. I don't... Spastic, that's so weird. I've never been called spastic. I've been called so many other things, but not spastic. And if anything, I'd just be like, okay, yeah, you're right. So if you want to let me know. And again, like I said in the beginning, definitely ask the person what they want to be called, you know? Because some people do take offense to certain terms. But I'm just saying, I think the majority of the disabled community doesn't have a problem with the word disabled. At least people I know who have like autism, cerebral palsy, who are blind, deaf, whatever. They're like, I'm disabled. It's no big deal. I haven't figured out how to do an outro, so this is my outro. See ya. Peace.